If you drove through Maplewood Estate on any given morning, you would see what most people spend their whole life chasing. Cute street, good school, neighbors who have web from driveway. From the outside, the Harmon family had everything figured out. A home, careers, two kids in soccer cleats, the kind of life that looked perfect in photographs, and that important because photographs only show you what someone wants you to see. This is the story of how a single detail on a small overlooked detail unrevealed everything. The family everyone admired. Daniel Harmon was 42 when investigators first heard his name, a financial consultant at a mid-siege firm coaching little Lingu on weekends. His wife, Claire, ran a small catering business out of their home. Neighbors say the smell of fresh bread was practically the neighborhood alarm clock. They were the kind of people you wanted to live next to, always friendly, always offering to help. When my husband had his surgery, Claire brought us dinners every night of 2 weeks, every night. Their children, Lily 14 and Marcus 11, were by all accounts bright, well-adjusted kids. Lily played violin in the school orchestra. Marcus won the country science fair 2 years running. Daniel was one of those guys that said he made the office better. He remembered your kid's name, remembered your mom was sick, that kind of thing. But behind every careful constructed image is the architecture that hold it up. And something if you know where to look, you can see the cracks. It started with a road audit, not criminal, not dramatic, the kind of thing that happens every few years at financial firm, a compliance review standard procedure. We were not looking for anything, that's what I keep telling people. Nobody went in thinking something was wrong. It was just paperwork. The auditors were 3 hours into reviewing account documentation when one of them flagged something, a timestamp on a transaction field as having occurred on a Thursday, October 14th. October 14th of that year was a Wednesday. One day off I could have been a typo. It probably would have been dismissed as a typo, except for what happened when they looked just a little hit closer. The transaction in question was a transfer of 47,000 US dollars from a client discretionary account to an intermediary fund. The fund was real, the paperwork was real, the client's signature was real, but the date was wrong, and not because of a typo. When you see a date discrepancy on a document like that, you have two possibilities. Either someone made a mistake or something was trying to make someone thing look like it happened when it did not. The signature on that document was dated a day after the transfer had already cleared, which means the client signed something they did not understand after the fact. That was the detail. One day, 24 hours, and it suggests something that changed the entire shape of the investigation. The client had not authorized the transfer in advance. They had been presented with paperwork to legitimize something that had already happened. Act 3, What They Should Found. Once investigators knew what to look for, the picture shifted fast. Over the next 3 months, forensic accountants identified 26 similar transactions spanning 4 years. Always different client, always different amount, always when examined closely, with documentation date just slightly off. He used to call me every quarter, walk me through my portfolio. I trusted him completely. I mean, why I would not? My wife trusted him. Our whole family trusted him. That what makes it. It's not just the money. It's what it means about your judgment. The total estimate tape just over $1.2 million moved on. Careful, calculated, increments across dozens of accounts small enough to fly under standard monitoring threshold, large enough that when added up it had quickly funded a second financial life for Daniel Harmon, one that bore almost no resemblance to the one his neighbors thought they knew. Investigators discovered a second set of account property in two other states purchased under a corporate entity, a pattern of cash withdrawal that alleged precisely with the transfer date. What struck us is how methodological it was. That this was not impulsive, he had worked out of system and he had refined it over years. Documentation was almost perfect. Almost. The question investigator could not immediately answer was not whether Daniel Hormon had once done this. The question was whether Claire had no. This is where cases like this become genuinely painful to cover because Claire Hormone was by every account exactly the person she appeared to be. She had no idea. I know people say that and it sounds like something you say, but Claire keeps a budget notebook, handwritten. She clipped coupons. She would have noticed. Investigators would ultimately agree after extensive review of financial record, digital communication, and three separate interviews. Claire Hormone was never charged. She had been kept entirely in the dark, not by accident, investigators believe, but by careful design. The joint accounts show nothing unusual. The household finances were clean. Daniel had maintained a completely separate digital footprint, separate email address, a second phone transaction run through accounts Claire had no reason to know existed. He had compartmentalized his entire life. His family was one compartment, his client were another, and then where was this third compartment? Where all of his was happening that he kept completely sealed off from everything else. That takes a particular kind of discipline and frankly a particular kind of coldness. Daniel Hormone was arrested on a Tuesday morning in March. Lily was at his school. Marcus was at his school. Claire was in the kitchen making coffee when two federal agents knocked on the front door. He was convicted on 19 counts of wire fraud and security violation. He was sentenced to 11 years. Claire sold the house within the year. She and the kids relocated, started over by all accounts. She has, in whatever way you are able to move forward. I still think about that. I still drive past that house and think about those kids. They did not do anything, neither did she, and they lost everything anyway. What stay with you about a case like this is not the complexity of the scheme. It is not even the money, it is the smileness of the thing that broken it open a date, one wrong date on one document out of thousands. He had spent 4 years building something nearly invisible, and in the end, it was not a dramatic confession or a whistleblower or a lucky break and brought it down. It was a Wednesday. I hope you understand. Okay, I meet in next video. Bye bye.